In today's video, we're going to be covering TextBox inside a Roblox studio. Let's begin because TextBox are super useful for specific game types. So what is a textbox? It's a GUI element that allows you to capture users' input. Let's create one to begin with. We go to starter GUI, we go into the screen GUI here. I'm gonna delete the text label and I'm going to add a text box. Boom. Here we go. Here is the text box. Let's take it and move it to the center. And we can see it obviously here. So inside this textbook, we could write text. All right. And as we can see, each time we write the text, we focus out and we focus again by just clicking on it, the text disappears. Really interesting. So before we continue doing changes to this, I want to do a few changes. So first of all, I'm going to add text scaled. So our text is actually scaled. And let's begin. So boom, we can see here that our text now is a lot bigger than before. So I want to teach you some of the properties that happen with this text box. And then we're going to code some scripts that will use this text box, its input, and its events. It's going to be super amazing. So the first thing that we just seen is that when we refocus on the text box, our text resets. It deletes the old text and has a blank text. So this happens because of this clear text on focus option. If you remove it and click it and you write text again, your text will remain. And this is very important if you really need this kind of behavior. Also, you can have multiple lines of text. So right now it's just a single line, and when you reach, the limit of it, it's gonna turn into a second line. However, if you select here the multi-line property, you can write multiple lines of text by pressing enter. As you can obviously see, this is very useful. And I would highly suggest that you use both clear text and focus as false and also have multi-line open, especially if you try to create some kind of document, some kind of book, or I don't know, take massive input from the user. The next thing that I want to show you is a different option, which is text edible. This property, if you close it down, people will not be able to change, this kind of text afterwards. So if you have this unclicked, people will not be able to use it during the game. So this is a powerful function that you may want to enable in some cases in the game. So for example, here I cannot change it. Let's reset the game. So now we're going to make it edible. So the user will be able to edit it. So for example, you may initially want this text box to be edible. Then you might have a submit button, and then you may want to disable it. It means like it's not gonna be edible anymore. So you see, I unfocus and I can change it again and again. So this is also another useful option and property that you would like to use if you want this box to be editable once or according to when you want it. Another interesting option, if you scroll down, is placeholder text. So this is default text that will be shown to the user by default. So here it will say, for example, type your age. Then the user fills in the value, and let's say it says 10. That's what's gonna be shown. And then when the user resets, it will show the placeholder value again. Of course, you can change the color of the placeholder by this button. For example, you can make it red or whatever you want. Doesn't really matter. And finally, you can have a preset value for the text by clicking the text option, or you can just leave the default, which is the empty text option. All right. So you've got all of these different options that are unique to the text box. Now, let's not waste any more time and start playing with scripting. So we're going to create a new local script inside the text box. Remove the print hello world. We're going to write local text box equals script.parent, because the parent of this script is the text box, as we can obviously see in the properties. And the first event we're going to learn about is textbox.focused. All right. So let's read what focused is about. So this is an event that happens when someone, let's say, clicks on the text box, or some kind of function triggers the focus on the text box. Okay, so when this happens, we want to connect this event with function. Okay, so in this case, what we're gonna do is we're gonna print player is focused on the box. Okay, so we can print this message. Now, before we test it out, I want us to also print another kind of event. So the next event will be focus lost event. So what this event does is it triggers when the text box loses its focus. All right. So let me show you exactly what happens. This takes some input. So the input in this case is enter pressed and it has a boolean value. All right. So it takes a parameter. And what you can do here is player is not focused on the box, and if enter pressed is true, then the player pressed entered to submit. So you can also track the enter button, which is usually used to submit forms, which is essentially what the text box is. So let's go ahead and test out this functionality. So here you're gonna see the output. We focus on the box and it says player is focused on the box. We are going to focus out of the box and it's going to say player is not focused on the box. But keep in mind that the print for the enter is actually still false because we didn't click enter. I just clicked outside the box. So we're also inside the box again. We hit enter and didn't really track my enter, which is interesting. Why did it crash? I guess this is probably due to the multi-line option. So probably what we have to do is remove the multi-line option. Let's try and play the game again. Yeah, and now it handles the pressed entered to submit. In all honesty, I wasn't prepared to show this on this tutorial. I didn't know that if you have multi-line selected, the enter button will not be actually used. But it's really common sense. Coding is most of the times common sense stuff that you get to understand as you play around more with it. So let's move forwards to the next part. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to use a method that is going to automatically capture the focus. We're going to add a wait flag here, and then we're going to say text box capture focus. Okay, so that's what we want to do. And this automatically focuses on the text box, which is pretty amazing. You don't even have to make the player click. Let's say, for example, that you have a cutscene where a book is opened up and you have to fill a code or whatever. You can trigger this automatically and the focus will happen on the box and the player can just type. They cannot do anything else other than type an answer. So that's a very powerful utility if you have a little bit of creativity on how to use it. So because I don't want to really waste your time, what we're gonna do is we're going to add some code inside this function over here. So what we're going to do is we're going to check an event, or let's say a method that tells us if the text box is focused. Okay, so we're going to write inside the text box the following code. We're going to do task.delay. So we're going to delay this event by 5 seconds and we're gonna write a function. So what this function is gonna do, let me remove this, let me fix the function. So what this is going to do is it's going to check is focused equals. So when the text box is actually focused, it's gonna print if this is the case. So if this is true, then you want to print like still focused. So when a player focuses, there's going to be a wait flag for 5 seconds and it will check if the player is still focused. And you can do this by checking the is focused option and by referencing the text box. So that's very, very useful if you want to add some kind of delays. So let's say that someone focuses on the box, but they haven't done an action and they're still stuck at it. You could add the helping message. So maybe you could do that with this kind of methodology. Maybe, I don't know, to be completely honest with you. What we're gonna do is we're going to add another task wait here for 3 seconds this time, and we're gonna say text box. Actually, let's make it 6 seconds. What we're gonna say here is release focus. So as we had capture focus that automatically like clicks on the text box or focuses on the text box programmatically, we are going to release the focus again automatically with code instead of the user doing it after 6 seconds. So we're going to see this kind of code actually run. So we're going to see the still focused again. So let's go back to the game. Let's click play and watch here the output. Everything should happen programmatically here. So player is focused on the box, and we can see here this dash showing up, still focused, and now the player is not focused on the box. So we see that nothing is clicked here. Pretty amazing. And I think you learned everything you needed to learn about text boxes and how to code them. I also shown you some examples of how to practically use them. And I think, especially if you make a story driven game or a puzzle, this is very powerful. In my opinion, at least. Okay. Let me know if you have other use cases and ideas about text boxes. And of course, make sure to check the Roblox Bible. It's on the link in the description, completely free. I added this text box chapter for you. So check that out. And I will see you on the next video.